Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to ask if any of you have any idea of how hard it is to schedule an ice storm for 3 or 4 days after you hand out 1,000 ice scrapers with your logo on it. No simple feat, but you're going to need it on Sunday night, Monday morning, so keep it handy. I do know we have record attendance today, but more significantly, I can promise you we've never had this many people still in their seats at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so thank you for winding up our day for us. I'm going to go on a limb here a little bit and assume that all of you had your television sets on in the last few months and are familiar with Governor Mills' background, both growing up in Maine and her accomplished professional career. But let's face it, none of us, and today was probably a perfect example, can really understand the scheduling pressure of running for governor, being elected for governor, creating a government, and then taking office. It's got to be a tremendous amount of pressure and tough scheduling. So I found it telling that over the last several months, this is the 4th occasion on which I've been able to be in the same room as Governor Mills. And the first time was when she came to mate with Maine & Company. And she wanted to talk about business attraction, business retention, and business expansion. Second time was when she came to the Maine State Chamber Board of Directors dinner to talk about and deal with the issues facing the business community. And then the third occasion was at a Maine Community College Foundation event that was to talk about workforce and workforce development and how do we address the issue that the panel was just, and Andrea in particular, was just talking about. And now, just 2 weeks into her term in office, she's here to talk about the real estate industry and meet with hundreds of us who are involved in that every day. So clearly, with the scheduling pressure, to have made those things a priority tells us that she understands the importance of those kinds of things to the Maine economy, which we can all be very encouraged about. And then finally, I think we all ought to take a step back for just a second. And I want to have you think about the last time you were doing something for the first time. And you get a little nervous, right? It's a little hard to do something you've never done before. And now that's even when other people, hundreds, thousands of other people have done it. So imagine what it's like to have to be the first to do something, to be the first female district attorney in New England, to be the first female attorney general in Maine, and now we're fortunate to have her as our first female governor here in Maine. Please welcome Governor Janet Mills.
Thank you. And to paraphrase an old saying, we're not going to stop meeting like this. We're going to continue to meet like this for the next several years at least. And I thank you for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to have been elected Attorney General, then Governor, for 2 reasons. One is, if I hadn't won the election in November, I was going to have to clean the barn. And that would have taken 4 years too. And secondly, they no longer call me General Mills at the meetings. I really was beginning to feel like a box of Wheaties. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I wish I'd been here earlier to get the forecast information. I'm hoping to get caught up on that, all of the interesting information you had presented earlier today. But from working every day to build affordable housing for seniors, to strengthening our local economies, to selling and renting and constructing properties, or in one unique case, to governing the state of Maine, we are all here gathered today to share a similar goal, to make people feel at home here in Maine. Many of you heard me say in my inaugural address that from now on, a new sign will greet all those arriving in the state of Maine at the Kittery line. It will say, quite simply, "Welcome home." My esteemed brother Peter is working on that as we speak. But I want people to know that our state is one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family. We should make sure everybody knows that. And I want employers and entrepreneurs and innovators, anyone with new ideas for forest products, for aquaculture, for recreation, renewables, and everything in between, to know that they are welcome here in this state. And attracting talented young people to move here and make Maine their home is a top priority of my administration. Because quite simply, we need them, as you know. From an aging population and a workforce shortage to the ever-changing economy, our state faces significant challenges. In August, you know, the Maine Department of Labor issued a report that predicted a net gain of fewer than 100 jobs in the next 8 years. A total job growth of basically 0%, with roughly 9 jobs added to our economy each year. That's not sustainable. The result is what you and I see and hear every day across the state of Maine. Maine's economy cannot grow because we lack qualified, credentialed people to do the work. Fewer than half of Maine's adults now hold a post-secondary credential, either a college degree or professional certification of some sort. Yet 2 out of 3 jobs require such credentials. This imbalance is why we have, at the same time, employers saying they cannot find people to work and workers saying they're stuck in dead-end jobs. So Maine's economic future is dependent on training and educating more people, Maine adults in particular, to fill employers' needs. We have work to do. Maine's community colleges and Maine's career and technical education centers play a critical role in addressing this challenge. My administration will work closely with the Maine community colleges and the CTEs to expand short-term customized training programs in both hard and soft skills, to strengthen training partnerships with large employers like Bath Iron Works, Pratt & Whitney, Unum, as well as with small employers like American Roots, Flowfold, and to create new pathways that lead to new skills and credentials of value for those already in the workplace, along with those looking to gain a foothold in the economy. This doesn't mean going to school for 2 years or 4 years. It may, in some cases, mean spending five weeks in a program to get a credential, or going to school nights for a couple of months to get a certificate. This work is close to my heart. You know, a few years ago, when I was Attorney General, this company, Bathfitter, which renovates bathrooms, we found out was not using licensed plumbers in the state of Maine. So we brought them to court and filed a lawsuit, brought them to court. Ultimately got a promise to continue to use licensed plumbers, and we got a $500,000 forfeiture from them to do what we wanted. Well, as Attorney General, I had the discretion to use this money any way I wished, and I thought, well, what can I do with money for plumbing? Well, I called around some of the schools, and I found that there were no plumbing programs in a lot of the CTEs. So with that money alone, we started a plumbing program at Biddeford High School, Oxford Hills High School, Lewiston Regional Tech, and Foster Tech in Farmington. And I said, get some girls in those programs, by the way. They're good paying jobs, you know. As we like to say, it's easier to find a lawyer or an accountant than it is to find a plumber, right? Well, I'm pleased to say that a year and a half ago, the student of the year in the Foster Tech program was a young woman named Lexi Daggett from New Vineyard, Maine, in the plumbing program. And now she's a student at Machias. She's at UMaine Machias studying fish and wildlife, so broadening her horizons. I hope to replicate this kind of thing across the state by expanding educational and career opportunities for Maine students, including building our vocational tech courses, investing in equipment for the CTEs, and expanding computer science curricula, I think, is really desperately needed. You know, you read about David Rue and his funding a grant program in one of the Lewiston grammar schools. I think it was Montello. And kids 5 years, 6 years, 7 years old are doing computer coding. They're playing with drones and stuff. It's just amazing. I mean, I couldn't learn this stuff as fast as they're learning it, but kids are catching on. We need to replicate that across the state. Computer skills are vital to the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow, obviously. Maine's workforce challenges and the challenges associated with our aging population are all too well known. We have to be ready for the unexpected as well. I like to quote the writer Kurt Vonnegut, who said, "Every government, every cabinet ought to have a department of the future." So the time has come to begin investing in our future, and that, to me, begins with planning and welcoming innovation at all levels. I'm asking all people in state government to take the long view, to engage in strategic planning, long-term research, tap into federal funds whenever appropriate, and look to the future. I was proud this morning to announce the appointment of Hannah Pingree to lead what is now known as the Office of Planning and Management, and to transition it into a more robust entity, which we will call the Office of Innovation and the Future. I want that office to dive into major policy challenges, foster collaboration, and get rid of the silos in state government, and propose concrete, workable solutions. Hannah Pingree will start that work immediately, engaging with the legislature and with stakeholders and with the public, supervising research on critical issues like climate and energy, early childhood education, workforce development, broadband, rural economic development, health policy, and opioid policy. She will be creating the framework for the Office of Innovation and the Future, and together we will present the proposal to the legislature for its consideration. I almost like to think of it as the Office of Imagination. I read with sadness today about the death of Mary Oliver, the poet from Massachusetts, one of my favorite poets, and one of the things she said was, "Keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable." Just keep thinking about what you haven't imagined yet, good, bad, or indifferent. But I look forward to working with Hannah Pingree to accomplish our goal and to ensure that Maine is thinking strategically and imaginatively and comprehensively about our future. That was not the only news that our administration made this week. On Wednesday, I signed the senior housing bonds, and we took a long-awaited step forward in our goal of ensuring Maine seniors can live safely with dignity and comfort in the homes and communities they love. 1,160 days after the bonds passed. Those senior housing bonds will help fund the construction of more than 200 affordable units and fund weatherization and accessibility projects, building ramps, and sometimes simple things just to keep people in their homes. It's an additional 100 units that will be weatherized and made accessible. That's still a small dent in the big problem. My administration will continue to examine ways to support affordable senior housing so that every Mainer can live safely in their own community, in their own home. Together, we will chart a new and better path forward for Maine. And to chart that path, the day after the election, we formed a 14-member executive search committee, what people might have called the transition committee. But for 2 months straight and more, they have worked hard. Leaders across the state, you mentioned Maine and Company. Peter Del Greco gave of his time. Jim Clare gave of his time. Lois Skillings, Justin Alfon, Barbara Trafton, Ben Grant. 14 bipartisan people gave of their time and effort to review almost 1,000 resumes of people who wanted to work for state government. They wanted cabinet-level jobs, and it was an amazing group of people, an amazing amount of talent that offered itself up. And they did the great job of reviewing all those resumes and figuring out who would fit where, and then offering me recommendations of several more people for each cabinet post, whom I then interviewed. And as of tomorrow, we will have completed our selection of the cabinet, completely done, ready for the hearings in the next 2 weeks, and they're starting their work now. We've been working on the budget for the last 2 months as well. I've had a separate committee working on that. Again, a bipartisan committee of people working, digging deep into the financial needs of state government. and promising to get the job done without raising taxes. But the result and the criteria for these cabinet positions has never been political party. It has always been who's the most qualified to get the job done. And I'm pleased that so many of the people who applied for the job are younger generation people. I say younger, under 40, some under 30, and people with new ideas about how to get things done in state government. I'm really excited about this cabinet, getting to work with them. This is an unprecedented, I think, slate of qualified, committed, ready-to-work professionals in all areas of state government, all of them screened and vetted in record speed and diving into budgets and policies across the spectrum of government. And I think in my office, as a result of this process, I like to say in my office and in the office of our cabinet members, you will find an open door, an open mind, and an open heart. So one more thing Mary Oliver wrote was, what is it you wish to do with this one wild and precious life of yours? It's something we ask ourselves every day, isn't it? Every individual asks yourself that. And I know what I want to do with my life in the coming years. And I hope that you will offer your lives as well and your contributions to state government and to public policy in general, and find in my office an open door for all ideas, all comers. I welcome them. And to all of you, I also say, welcome home. Thank you so much.